Beanie fans, and welcome to another episode of How Good Is My Hair? We digress. Right, in today's episode we have another Chinese frame complete with Italian bullshit handwriting or stenciling or whatever the fuck it's called. This, we haven't had a Bianchi shite on here before. Now this frame came to me from a chap in the Midlands in England. It is a Bianchi. I'm just taking the piss really because it's shit. But anyway, this Oltre XR Superleggera, was that pronounced Superleggera? I have no idea. Italian design, that means it's made in China, and it says here, Bianchi engineered carbon nanobollocks technology, pure element. Anyway, right, so this frame's come in. The chap complained of the usual stuff, which was, he was going through bottom brackets really quickly, creaking, and there's some very obvious things as I've got it here in front of me, but I will talk you through them in a second. So what have we got? Well, I've no idea what year this frame is. It's 57 centimeters in size. It's the Oltre XR. It's Bianchi bikes are usually like a teal, green, blue kind of colour. This one's black. This is a bit of a weird one. Well, not weird one, but I guess it's slightly more dated technology looking at the crux of it. The headset has aluminium bearing landings, which in this day and age is unusual because it adds weight, probably adds a bit of complexity. Coming down, then we've got this, it's a BB30 bottom bracket, which again, modern Bianchis tend to use BB86, but BB30 is 68mm shell and it's a bearing fit, so it's designed for 6806 bearing straight away. The other thing is round here, we've got the dropouts are aluminium, so they're not machined carbon or anything like that. It's aluminium, and they've been glued into the chain stays, and the seat stay is threaded into there. That is actually very well made. I've checked that. The fit on there, so the quality of the aluminium machining is really quite good. This is where things get a bit bad. I mean, look in there. That's the head tube. It's horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. There's loads of voids in there, absolutely loads. Now, some people say, oh, you learn nothing from the ripples or the displacement voids. It's bullshit. If you can't see the problem there is when the carbon layer or material layer goes up, you've got either nothing behind it or a layer of resin behind it. Nothing behind it has a strength of 0, and resin has a strength of about 10 megapascals, whereas the carbon is like 10 times that, more than that anyway. This is kind of problematic in the sense that they've caused this problem from the section of the tube. So if I show you that, so this is the tube, the head tube. It's rounded and then it's flat there. That is quite a tight radius on both sides. So to layer the carbon round it has proved problematic, and that's caused all sorts of problems on the inside. Now, if that was showing on the outside, no one would buy the frame and say it was crap, but it just makes it not as strong. Now, is it going to put you into hospital? Probably not, because looking at the thickness of how much extra they've had to put in there, that's not really going to cause an issue, but yeah, it's not great. Now, this head tube is stuck probably around about there. So I have stuck a camera up it, and I'll show you that in a minute. And there's a joint there, and these tubes look to have been made separately. This tube section looks to be that cross section to give it stiffness. So it is a very stiff cross section. And you've got the sweep across there. In terms of manufacturing, these two tubes, when I put the camera down, they look to be well made. That doesn't. And the other complicated shape, which is further down, which is the bottom bracket, again, does not look great. Now, if you're spending this much on a frame, you'd expect the riv nuts to be actually square, and they're not, they're on the piss. Now we come on to the bottom bracket, so I'll go through the measurements in a second. This is the drive side. I don't know how old the bike is, but you can see that this is the aluminium insert. The hole, or the sort of, I guess the reinforced section around it is by no means regular. So across here, it's just flat. It's not even close to being round. And over there, it's just on the piss. It's shit. Compared to the other side. So this is the other side. Actually, looking at it again, that ain't great either. I mean, it's round there. Then over here, it's irregular. And there's a bit of a lip there. It's not the end of the world, but if you're spending this much on a bike frame, you'd expect perfection. So this is the bottom bracket shell. I mean, there's a manufacturing defect in here in the sense that it is tapered. Now, I'll show you that in the PowerPoint later on, but it is tapered, and that's what's causing the problem. So the taper needs to be fixed. In the process of fixing the taper, it's likely that the shell will become wider. So it's going to need a custom bottom bracket. The manufacturing defect, the other manufacturing defect is where the groove has been put in for the circlip for BB30. We've got something called rollover, which is where the aluminium material gulls and then flips over and you get a small ridge. It's not the end of the world, that, but nonetheless, where's the quality control?
Right, it is that time of the show again. It is time for PowerPoint. And in today's episode, if I can get this damn thing to freaking work, here we go. This one, I think we're going back to, you know, the good old days these days. Right. Bianchi, more quality horse shite from those lazy fuckers who have 4-hour lunch breaks and retire at 50 to twat their goldfish and consume vast quantities of Russian gas. Second only to the Germans. The Germans. As always, you can reach my website on hambini.com, youtube.com/hambini, Hambini on Shitstagram, and if you're feeling dapper, a Patreon contribution wouldn't go amiss. By Hambini, aged 5, the merch line is coming back. In fact, I've also got stickers, but we'll come to that in a minute. Right. Is the pen working? We haven't checked the pen. Is the pen oh fuck, working? Yes, it freaking well is. Right, Bianchi, it's pronounced Bianchi. Apparently CH is a hard K, like a kick in the bollocks, which is what I'm about to deliver now. Right, so they were an Italian company formed in 1885, and then when I did my extensive research on Wikipedia, they said it is now owned by Sweden's richest immigrant, Salvatore Grimaldi, and that's from Wikipedia, you can have a look. And they've sponsored some famous riders. So this is Marco Pantani. I think he launched himself in 1999, maybe 2000, from a drugs overdose. Or did I make that up? Not sure. I think he had a heart attack actually, but anyway. So that's him on his Bianchi bike in this kind of blue-green kind of colour. And I think that's Campag gears in the background. And then we also have Jan Ulrich, who is a hero of mine, no less. He is just, you know, top dollar. Right, this frame. Where do I start with this frame? Well, let's start off with the seat clamp. It is utter shite. You could go Google that somewhere else if you want to go see what it's like, but it is utter fucking wank. You could almost kind of split this into two bits. So you've got this bit here, which is the head tube, and it's a disaster. I mean, it's worse than a railway crash. And then this bit, which is the dropouts, and they're actually quite well machined. Now, this kind of design, as I mentioned earlier, is unusual. You don't tend to get this threaded insert with the stays threading into them. Now geometrically it is slightly off. It's not as accurate as some of the the base carbon things that you get from the Far East. It is, even though this probably is from the Far East, I mean it is Italian engineered no less, it's slightly off. And that's probably because you've got like a composition of materials and a bit of springiness. So it's slightly off. I mean, am I going to worry about it? Well, it's not my bike, so I don't give a shit. But, and then in here, in the bottom bracket, again, that's just crap. It's just crap. But you've got these big long tubes and they're fairly clean. There's not really much in the way of excess residue, excess epoxy, and you haven't got the tenting, which tends to cause the crack propagation. Now, this next slide is sponsored by Oltre, no less. It is the anti-wrinkle slide, and here's a close-up of the head tube. Now, I did put this out to my YouTube and Facebook fans to ask them if they could guess the bike, and there were 150 guesses on YouTube and probably about 40 guesses on Shitstagram, and no one guessed it was a Bianchi. Everyone was guessing it was a Canyon. So, well, a lot of Canyons, which kind of sets the stall in terms of what people think of various brands. But yes, this is a Bianchi. And then that's inside the bottom bracket. So you can see the metal insert here and another one over there and all of this. Look at it, it's awful, absolutely awful. And even then, it just looks like origami, doesn't it? That's origami. Now each of these is layer displacement. It's some of it people will say, oh, it's the bag, it's the bag. That is way worse than the fucking bag. It's an absolute bag of fucking wank. It is dreadful. And then, it just goes on from there. Now, this bit tickled me. Let me tickle you. Right, this is their marketing bullshit. So, if you go and do a Google search of the Bianchi Oltre XR, you'll come across this, which is Bianchi's wrinkleless moulding process. Minimises the amount of material used and gives a smooth carbon laminate with no wasteful creases that could aid formation of crack. So you can go and look that up over there on that link. It's just a joke, really. It's just absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Right, damage photos. Now this is the bottom bracket, the drive side. It's a bit out of focus because I'm not very good on the camera. You see the area around there is like blistering of paint, and there as well. Now I think this has been inserted probably from this side. The reason is this is the non-drive side, and on this side you don't have any blistering of paint, nothing. So I think that's the datum side. You have got a bit of distortion around here, which you can see it's supposed to, I'm assuming it's supposed to be round. I can't imagine they would have made the mould not round. And then because it's such a tight radius and you need good compaction, generally people will put filler in there to bridge the gap. Now you can also see this is an aluminium tube that's been inserted, and then the carbon around it. The other thing to note is the actual damage is there and there. You can see the striations, and then here as well. Yeah, it's like the bearing spun, but and you can see this as well. That is rollover. So when the material comes along, I'll explain on the next slide actually. Right, so this is generally what a BB30 is supposed to look like if you cut it in half. So this bit here is 68 millimeters. This bit here is 42. This is a nominal measurement. And then you've also got these circlips that go in this gap here and here. So they are now the Cannondale specification, because it is a Cannondale standard, is small e VHM 42. What I've seen a lot of people have is circlips with eyelets in them, and they tend to impinge on the bearing. So the bearing sits here, or it's supposed to sit there. That's if you were using a BB30 crankset. So you got that there, and then you got the circlip that comes out like that. Now, what's happened is, so this is what it's supposed to look like, perfectly round as well. This is what we've ended up with. So we've ended up with, you've got some damage there, or a taper basically. So the face isn't square, and then the taper. So the taper is almost a machining defect, and it's because the cutting tool, as it's coming along, I don't imagine they would have set it at an angle, but it's got a bit of deviation on it as you come along. Now, over the course of 9mm, that's a pretty tragic amount of taper. Now, it could be that the guy or girl who's been machining it, or even if the CNC's been machining it, which is probably more likely, the tool's deflected, possibly because it's gotten blunt. The other reason why I think it might have gotten blunt is we have this, which is called rollover. So when the material from this circlip groove is removed, it's supposed to actually cut it out. But in reality, what's happened here is it's a plastic process. So the cutting tool's gone in, gouged, but it hasn't separated from the rest of the bottom bracket. So it's just folded over. And that's left, I mean, it's exaggerated there, but it's left some material there. Now, when the chap's put the bearing in, he may not have seen it. I suspect he hasn't. And it's just like cockled the bearing slightly. That plus the taper and the misalignment tend to grind the shell out. So that's where you are. Right. Tidbits. Now, I want to stress here that this one really pisses me off a bit, because, well, it pisses me off a lot, because this company is shrouded in, history, in marketing. Oh, we make Italian frames, they are great, blah, 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 blah. It's bullshit, absolute bullshit. Look at the number of creases in there, and then they have the audacity to go onto Bike Radar and say, oh, we have a wrinkless moulding process. Absolute crap. That 400 quid or 500 quid Trifox frame that I had chopped up has nowhere near as many, wrinkles as that. Absolutely none. But people will go and buy this based on that. Now, it's fine if you go and buy it, but let's be honest, you're not getting a quality product, and this one certainly isn't. Italian flair, character, crap. I mean, and I've said this before, it's worse than the AliExpress Friday afternoon special. It's absolute crap. Right. I've been saving this for a while because the famous scale from before had to be retired because of the people that complained, mainly twats who didn't understand engineeringism. So I've developed a new one with my colleagues called the Twat Bollocks algorithm that is wok friendly. And we have another arrow system, right? On the left, twats. I'll let you Google that if you are not familiar with English vernacular or German vernacular, Scheider. Right, bollocks on the right. And then in between, we had to think of something. So people, my esteemed colleagues, decided to think of some diseases. So we've got AIDS, syphilis, monkeypox, and the clap. Right, first of all, onto this list is, where's the fucking pen? Oh, there's the pen. Right, Legend by Bollocsetti. So we're going to have that video coming up shortly. I'd suggest you watch that as more hilarity. The Open Crapifornia, and again, I'll have a bit more on that from my friends, Gerard Vrooman and Andy Kessler, purveyors of the finest bottom brackets and things in the world. I don't know what came over my hand, it's my muscle memory. And then, right, these things are in red, so these things in red are going to put you in hospital. Ass crap wheels, so that's Ascent wheels from Singapore. They use, I think their rims are Chinese. They have not actually admitted they're Chinese, but I think they get their rims from China, build them up in Singapore, send them to me, and then promptly the spokes fail and I end up on the deck. So obviously I wasn't that happy. They recalled the wheels and they sent some new spokes, but still crap. And to be honest, their aerodynamic performance was a bit of a shambles, so again, won't go near them. And then KPS wheels. So again, some wheels from Australia. Same thing happened, got the wheels, the fucking spokes disintegrated again. So they delaminated from the nipple and then lost the spoke tension. Once that happens, you're basically a passenger on the deck, away we go. And then finally, and I wasn't quite sure whether to put this in bollocks for them talking bollocks or twat, because they are Bianchi Ultra shite. So that is where that is. Now, I think that's enough prattling around for now. So let's go back and fix this frame.
What we've done here is cleaned the taper out, taken the taper out, and then just gone and cleaned the shell the minimum amount, and now we're going to install a new bottom bracket, so let's put that in now. Now normally I'd put the bottom bracket in from the drive side, but the drive side is a bit more scabby than the non-drive side, so I'm going to fit it from the non-drive side because BB30 is symmetrical. He wants a Shimano bottom bracket, so we can use that. That's slightly oversized, and then we're going to install that now. So we'll just tighten this up. It gets to there, so we're just going to apply some retaining compound. Okay, so that is done. We'll take this apart and then have a look. Just need to put the caps in. Done the other side already, and that's it. Now, this is quite a neat finish by the end of it. There is no gap around there. It's perfectly seated. Now on the other side, the Bianchi bottom bracket has quite a big chamfer. It's almost a millimetre in. There's no real issues with that other than it's not completely flat to the bottom bracket, but it's not going to pop out, so that's okay. We'll put a crank in it just to test it. Now it's time for that special Shimano crank that launched itself. Let's pop that in. Okay, so we've got a bit of preload on there. That's all right. That's completely unbalanced now, but it spins freely. And that brings us to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, remember to just go screw yourself. As always, I mean, this is just, it's becoming a recurrent theme. So a frame that is marketed on its heritage and its Italian heritage and his name and all that kind of stuff, and it's just crap. If you spent this much money on the frame, you'd expect perfection and not sort of crap little details like this. I mean, this is worse than a shitty little you know, panel gap on a bike. It's just a joke. Now, would I buy this frame? Not a chance. I wouldn't bother going to buy this frame. I'd go and stick to something else. I'd go and buy the time if you really want to buy something European, or spend your money wisely and go buy something that's actually from the people who make it, because they look like they put a lot more care and effort into making a frame. So someone like Windspace, even I Can, Fox, all of that lot, all the ones that I've had, all the ones I've seen that have even been anonymous, have been pretty good. So that's it. Now remember to smash that like button, and if you'd hit subscribe, that'd be great. Remember to check out the website. Thanks very much, and until next time, keep banging your hairdresser.